Step inside the walls of the 25-year leader in classic and custom boat restorations. Watch as the meticulous craftsmen use the most advanced materials and processes in the industry to restore, repair, and build some of the most beautiful boats on the water, including their own Metan Classic Collection.
We're filming this last episode on the series on the restoration and refit of JB, the 23 Seacraft, during our holiday break here at Metan. As we're rolling into 2022 and you take a look around the shop, you'll see a number of new builds, restorations, and creations that'll be coming your way this season and into season 2 of Making It Metan. 2 of the restorations we'll be featuring in their own series will be a 1979 Formula Sportsman and a 1985 Mako 254. The Formula will leave here vintage correct, featuring many of its original details, yet structurally built to the highest quality custom boat building in the industry. We fabricate and customize most every accessory in-house. However, we did rely on a few key vendors that really stepped up to the plate for us on this restoration. One of them is Teak, which is the OEM division of Boat Outfitters. They did a phenomenal job on the replication of the original louvered doors. The other is our newfound friends, Metan Marine, who have now helped us out on a few projects. They did a beautifully detailed job replicating the original switch panels. And then there is the Mako. And I can't believe these words are going to come out of my mouth, but it will absolutely be the sickest center console to come out of Metan. This 1985 Mako 254 is not going to disappoint you. As we scan around the shop, you're going to see a number of new builds from multiple 13s, soon to be Tender Series models, 4 17s, both Davenports and Manhasset models. However, one of the Manhassets is our first finished white on white, where it'll soon be sitting on top of our new mothership, a 31-meter 1969 Fed ship. And even more exciting, we are currently beginning the structural assembly of our first 2 Glen Cove 32s. All of which will be coming at you in profiled series on the detailed builds of each and every one of these boats. I hope you enjoy and you stay tuned. For now, let's wrap up our series on JB as we go through the assembly process we use here at Metan. We left the last episode with the completion of the paint process, leaving us perfectly restored components, from the repaired hull to the refinished gunnel cap to the refurbished leaning post and center console. All back to new, or should I say back to originally restored condition from the first time around? After the guys in the fiberglass shop completed the repairs to the beat-up center console, they sent it over to the wood shop, where I spent the weekend fabricating the new teak components, as well as applying the first couple of steps to the Metan all-wood coating process. After detailed sanding, along with both a detergent and solvent wipe down, I went through the application of the all-wood primer sealer. Wanting to red the teak up a bit, I chose to use the red tinted primer sealer. I then applied the first couple of applications of the all-wood clear build coats. This made it so the guys could come in on Monday morning, get the parts scuffed and sanded, and begin the additional coats that would take to build up the grain of the wood. This is done with a combination of brush coats, working our way right into spray coats of the actual all-wood clear product. After achieving our film thickness, we sanded the surfaces smooth flat, ready for our final clear coat application, which is an additional 4 or 5 coats of Awlgrip 2000 clear. We then polish to perfection, only for Gary to come in here and cut and drill a bunch of holes in it. As we assemble the components to our consoles so I can get in there and start wiring, which you'll see when we return, so stay tuned. Hi, we're back. Gary installed the wood components and went ahead drilling the holes to the helm and key switch and installed the control box. We're setting up the console. It's the Garmin. Suzuki isn't a gauge. It's a screen. VHF is going to mimic the Garmin GPS over in the corner. We're going to put the Fusion radio control right there. Right here, we're giving you a Lucy accessory, which will give you double USB, 12 volt, and you'll always know what your battery voltage is. The switch panel is going right here. The cover is a gray, so the boys are painting in a flat black for me tonight, but that'll go right there. We decided on the locations, and Gary went ahead and started cutting the remaining holes to these accessories. Before installing, he applied multiple coats of epoxy, sealing the cut edge from water getting under the finish. Hey, this is a small step that'll ensure the extra life to your wood finishes. After the installation of these components, it was time for Gary and I to split up and go two different directions. And calling on some help from Joe as well. Gary needed to fabricate the pipework to the T-top, and Joe needed to finish the molded fiberglass hardtop and get it over to Scotty for paint. I needed to design and fabricate the new DC wiring system, which included new harnesses throughout the vessel, as you can hear me talk about in this video. All separate harnesses. That's a ground harness, trim tab harness, aft accessories, bilge pump. I'm throwing some underwater lights in, and I'm running a light so when you open up your back hatch, that has a light in it. This is your fuel tank. And then obviously that's the number 2 cables going back to the motor. I began this no different than laying out the components of the dash. I lay out the battery switch, circuit breaker, fuse box, 6-switch circuit panel, as well as the terminal block and bus bar. I use a 2-battery system, utilizing a starting battery for the motor and a deep cycle battery for the house. I completed the under console DC wiring and easily connected the multiple harnesses utilizing the terminal block, with each circuit pre-labeled. I then brought the negative harnesses together with the negative circuits underneath the console, neatly joining them together with a negative bus bar. I have all the harnesses all tied up, and I'm gonna run them back so I can get the trim tabs, underwater lights, and the bilges hooked up. While I was running the main harness throughout the boat, I took the time and ran the Suzuki rigging and steering hoses as well. This made it extremely easy and convenient to complete all the under console wiring. Wiring is complete. Motor rigging is complete. Electronics installation is complete. And what do we have? Voila! With the under console wiring and the motor rigging complete, we hung the Suzuki 300 and completed hooking up the motor end of the harness and the battery cables and the fuel system, getting JB that much closer to the water. And when we return, you'll see Joe and I did just that. He and I snuck up for a quick ride when we brought the boat up to the lake to mark its waterline. So stay tuned. Welcome back. Gary went off to fabricate the aluminum pipe frame to our new custom T-top. Over the last 25 years, he and I have collaborated on more T-top frames than I could even count. That is why I only have to give him a bit of my input, and then I get to sit back and witness his talents and his artistry. Especially now, having the equipment that bends pipe, unlike we were able to bend pipe 15 or 20 years ago. Gary fabricates each pipe using both old school and new school methods, not to mention a fair share of geometry and physics. By using both a hydraulic digital pipe bender and a pipe roller, he's able to fabricate the components with the shape and the bends that makes each one of the Metan T-tops custom in its own right and design. Designing and making each one of these components is only half the artistry. The other half is his tremendous ability to weld these parts into what most would consider a masterpiece. Not to mention, when he's welding, it sounds like an orchestra, where sometimes I walk by him and I swear to God, he's welding to a beat of a song. While Gary was doing his fabrication, Joey was going through the final fabrication steps to the molded fiberglass hardtop. Our fiberglass hardtops are sandwich constructed with 2 skins between 7-pound foam core. There are 2 PVC chaser tubes that run down the center and 2 4-inch by 1.5-inch thick pieces of Penske board that run the length of the top to mount the frame using our blind fasteners. The hardtops are oversized, enabling us to cut them down to desired sizes based on the boat and design. This leaves our edges rough, so after we're done cutting it down to size, we need to then plunge router to remove 1.5 inches of material, enabling us to backfill. You can hear in this video the step-by-step process to achieve a perfect, long-lasting bullnose edge of the hardtop.
They backfilled it yesterday after we routed it out. Joe is applying skim of Piranha just to fill in a couple of our lows so we can then run our router bits around the edges. You need everything nice and smooth, so our roller on our router rolls over a nice smooth edge and gives us a nice, consistent round over.
Joey completed this process as well as applying ultra-high build primer to the bodywork, and then sent the hardtop over to Scotty for final paint.
We feel very neglected that we didn't share Scotty painting our dark green clear coat detail on. Joe and I have been in the office working. Scotty's been out here spraying. He's all done. 3 coats of green, 4 coats of clear. Bamboozlestein himself.
I do it, man. Whatever you got.
With now only the hardtop and the T-top left to have this vessel fully assembled, Joe and I loaded up the boat to take it out for its first sea trial, as well as mark the waterline for the application of the bottom system.
Nice.
Push button.
I'm good. It doesn't even feel like you're going 23 miles per hour. That's pretty cool at whatever, 3,500 RPMs. She goes right on the key.
The boat ran fantastic. With the 300 horsepower and way more torque than the original 250, we achieved 40 miles per hour at only 4,000 RPMs. We double-checked the systems one last time, brought the boat back to the shop.
Well, a lot of you saw how killer this paint job was right out of the booth. At night, Scotty shot it. But we still go through a a wet sand and polishing process to make sure that we make it Metan.
My nephew Paul from PD Designs added a couple of small vinyl details to the console and the motor, adding to the final custom look of the vessel.
I keep telling him that this one little graphic that he's doing is going to make the whole boat. Stand by.
Moving the boat back into the assembly shop to install the T-top, JB was now ready for its return to the Clancy family and the Boston waters. So stay tuned as we take a cruise up those famous dirty waters. You know the saying about a boat? Best 2 days of your life? Well, we absolutely don't believe that here at Metan. For every one of our projects, past and present, the best day is delivery day.
Wow.
In fact, it's exactly like being a parent on Christmas morning. Seeing the joy, the surprise, and in many cases, the tears when they take delivery.
Mike and I got together and Mike promised that he'd make it better than new. And Mike came through with his promise.
That feeling so outweighs any feeling of receiving. With JB and the Clancy family, it was exactly like celebrating our third Christmas together. Yes, 3, because besides JB, Metan already restored another Clancy family heirloom, their 1963 Ensign sailboat. Steve and I have seen our boys grow into men between the 2 deliveries of JB and have formed a lifelong friendship that is very rarely seen in most businesses. Except the boat business. It happens all the time when good people come together. Kevin and I headed out early Saturday morning to meet up with Steve. We dropped JB in the water and headed over to the dock at Steve's house to hook up for a ride.
Scene of the crime.
Just as we did 16 or 17 years ago. Well, as you get to know this show, it's not scripted. I write and say everything as it happened or happens. Like in this case. As Steve's pulling up to the dock, he told me his son Jason called and needed to be picked up in Boston. So what better way to go to Boston than by boat?
Making a Metan, heading to B-Town.
It's been a while.
Hey, Jason, how you doing? My name's Kevin.
Hey, Jason, I met you 16 years ago in Michael Borrelli. How you doing, buddy?
I got a great picture of you, your dad, and your brother standing right here the day you delivered it. It was equally as cool for his son Jason to be there for the second delivery day, all these years later, as it was for me to see Joey be the lead man on the refit of JB. We cruised up to Boston, and Steve, like he always does, turned his hat around, dropped the bow, and put JB through the paces. He could not believe how smooth the fly-by-wire controls were.
Tripping, man.
Just the control that you have? Yeah, it's crazy.
Compared to almost 2-decade-old technology of his past Suzuki. Not to mention that extra punch that 300 horsepower has over the old 250. We took our time cruising around Boston Harbor. Seeing Boston from this vantage point, not everyone gets a chance to experience.
No, I mean, these are some of the oldest buildings in the country.
Really, in the country.
Yeah.
From the beautiful skyline of the financial district to the waterfront facade of the federal courthouse, it's something to see by water. Well, no different than our ride up there, Steve chopped the bow, hammered it home, making it a point to jump every big wake he could possibly find, bringing the true kid out in.
You able to handle that?
That's crazy. They got that.
And this is where we're going to end this series of the restoration and refit of JB, the 1973, 2006, 2020 Metan Seacraft. Join us on the next series of episodes where we build it, Metan. Going back a couple of years to 2018 when we built 2 Pelham Bay 21s at the same time. However, finishing them very different. One, a Pelham Bay Classic Special Edition, and the other, an over-the-top inshore Pelham Bay Sport Fish Pond. I'm Mike Borrelli. See you soon on the next episode of Making It Metan.